Okay, we're doing the ad read up at the top. Go to houseofdecline.com and patreon.com/House of Decline. You can get so many comics. You give money, you get the idea. Who cares? But I do, because I want money. So go to patreon.com/House of Decline. That's HAUS of Decline. Today on the show, we have a guest, Twitter account I've admired for a while. Love this account and love the person behind the account who you're gonna hear right now. It's Mr. Chau. Or Michael, as I should say, as I've got to call him.
Yeah, you don't have to call me by my poll. I think that's way too formal. We're good.
Now Mr. Chau. Mr. Chau, we're going to get into it right away. But
I'm on trial.
That is part of there is something nice about Mr. Chau. There is something authoritative about being Mr. Chau online.
Yeah.
Like, did you was there any decision making behind presenting your name that way, or was it just spur of the moment thinking?
A lot of friends do just call me by my last name because it's like fun to do. It's a one syllable name.
Mm-hmm.
But part of it's very silly because it is actually my last name, but there's partly to like I have some like anonymity, but that kind of doesn't make any sense. I'm still Mr. Chau.
Yeah. I think it's like, to me it's like, okay, here's a guy that knows about movies. He knows about movies so much that he's Mr. Chau. You know, we're not gonna go by first names here. We're here to talk about, have some opinions about the cinema. That is what your account is usually posted. What you're usually posting about is.
I do often post about movies and what I'm watching. I'm not no expert on it. I don't have like a film degree or anything, but I do like movies.
Yeah. Well, I do too. I also have a casual to somewhat less casual interest in movies.
Yeah.
Especially as a comics artist, because you can learn a lot about comics from watching movies.
Certainly.
Yeah.
It's a good way to learn like framing and stuff like that.
Yeah, people don't understand about blocking. People don't know about blocking. They don't consider it. But just putting bodies in a rectangle. There's so much you can do with that to make a frame.
Yeah. You can position people a certain way, and it's like either very funny or it's not.
Mm-hmm. Those are the only two options.
Those are the only two options. Yep. Those are the only two types of movies: is funny and not funny.
Yeah. I think that is the basis of those two masks, which you never see anymore. You never see the comedy and drama masks anymore.
It is true.
What happened to those guys?
Yeah. Miss those guys.
Yeah, they're out on the street. They're doing
They're just on the street laughing and crying.
Yeah, they're going hot and cold. It's the benzodiazepine withdrawal that they've been taking to get over their sad story we're spinning here. I hope, but there is laughter and tragedy. We have to keep in mind.
Yeah.
What you've been seeing anything recently? Anything tickle your mind?
On Friday I went and saw like a screening of The Heartbreak Kid, which I think is like a really fantastic movie. Have you seen The Heartbreak Kid?
I have not seen The Heartbreak Kid. What is The Heartbreak Kid? It's something that sounds like something I should have seen, but I have not seen.
It's a really good Elaine May movie about a guy who gets married and then while on honeymoon starts falling for somebody else, and he's just a real dirtbag.
Oh, you're talking about bodies in a frame and people that knew how to position bodies in a frame. Elaine May is like, she was
absolutely
incredible at that.
Yeah.
Does The Heartbreak Kid feature any of that? Like big old faces taking up like half of the foreground?
Absolutely. Like Charles Grodin is like the lead of it, and he's got so many great little nuanced like micro expressions throughout it. Like, he's one of the best.
Oh yeah, Grodin. We're big Grodin fans here.
Oh yeah.
For some reason, like about a year and a half ago, people on Twitter were like, hey, "Have you seen Clifford?"
Oh man, I've watched that. I saw it as a kid, was very scared of it, but watched it again fairly recently, and you know what? I didn't even know it at the time. Very funny movie.
Oh yeah, but it's like, it seems like way ahead of its time. It almost has like a Tim and Eric-ish sensibility to it.
I feel like it's kind of like Martin Short's Freddy Got Fingered, where it's like a riff on like the evil, like the chaotic kid genre.
Yeah, which I guess, there had been Problem Child
Yeah.
before that. And those
Yeah.
movies were very successful. And also, like,
Mhm.
have you ever seen a Problem Child movie? They're fucking unwatchable.
Oh yeah, I've seen the first one. I don't know if I've seen all of them, but I've definitely seen the first one.
Yeah. I would, yeah, painfully unwatchable.
It's got John Ritter. I love John Ritter.
We love John Ritter.
Yeah.
He's amazing,
Yeah.
It's amazing that they did that show after he died.
Oh yeah, that's right. And he was replaced sort of by David Spade, who is
Yeah.
not the same energy.
No, very different, not as chummy, more
No.
caustic and
Sure.
nasal.
Which I guess I feel like you have to replace somebody. You don't want the exact same vibe. So that I get the pathway to it.
Yeah, I mean it's always weird to me when that happens, and then the show fizzles out immediately afterwards. It happened
Yeah.
with News Radio, and
Oh, sure.
yeah, Jon Lovitz replaced Phil Hartman.
Yeah.
And then there was all that business with Andy Dick being the one that reintroduced Phil Hartman's wife back to cocaine.
Yeah,
And
apparently.
then Jon Lovitz got in a fight with Andy Dick where
Yeah.
he slammed his head on a bar table. But I think
I
that
love
was
the
years
idea of
later.
Jon Lovitz like engaging in violence at all. That's something I cannot imagine in my
Yeah.
mind at all.
We're gonna engage in fisticuffs.
I'm gonna get your ass.
Andy Dick, you've gone too far. I'm going to kick your ass. Yeah.
Like, can you imagine him physically shoving someone onto a table? That's impossible for me to imagine.
Yeah. Or yeah, because I guess I just picture him as Jay Sherman, the critic, in my
Yeah.
but,
He's the world's best schlubby guy.
yeah, but I'm sure he's got, I'm sure he's probably got some, he can throw around himself
Sure.
pretty well.
Also, also loved Phil Hartman, so he was clearly very incensed.
Yeah. I mean, everybody loved Phil
Yeah.
Hartman.
Oh yeah.
One of the most beloved guys around.
hmm Yeah, it's sad, but what could have been with Phil Hartman?
Yeah, more Lionel Hutz.
More Lionel Hutz.
Yeah.
Well, they were like trying to do like a live action spinoff of Troy McClure, which would have been very interesting.
Yes, that would have been very interesting. I wonder if they would have gone more into his fish fetish.
That's a good question. It's very funny they're doing jokes like that back in like the 90s.
Yeah, well, they sort of prefigure this. I mean, we think of quote unquote cancellation as this new thing, but
Sure,
everybody's
yeah.
been dealing with scandals constantly. It's always
Sure, yeah.
it's the cycle of fame. You get famous, and then something you would have otherwise not been recognized for comes
Yeah.
to light, and you're like, he's weird. Oh, yeah, you need to revive.
It's also like a riff on like the mysterious sexuality of a lot of celebrities. Like the obvious example is like Tom Cruise. Like nobody quite knows what his deal is.
Yeah. Or John Travolta. Well, we all
Sure,
know
yeah.
what John Travolta is,
Sure.
but he's less mysterious than
Yeah.
have photos of him, at 3 a.m. at some gym, and some twink on Instagram is like, oh my God, I just met John Travolta.
I feel bad for
Burbank.
Travolta. It feels like he's been like struggling with like all of this, and he's like kind of being blackmailed into like not being out, right?
Yeah, by Scientology, you think?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I could heal him.
Sure,
feel like
yeah.
I will give you the bravery, John Travolta.
You gotta
With
reach
my
out.
love. You will. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do John Travolta. I already have my other project of trying to heal Bam Margera. It's going terribly.
I feel so bad for that guy too. I know he's probably not the greatest guy either, but it seems like everything is hitting him hard.
Yeah, you don't have to have sympathy for someone who's done as much terrible shit as he's done. But you've had a friend who's been addicted to shit,
Yeah.
who's been a hopeless addict, and you want to see them get better because you see the good qualities in them, but they just can't help it, and that's always a sad fucking story when you
It is.
have such little control over your actions, and it's ruining the lives of everyone around you, especially.
He was like fired from the most recent Jackass, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, he didn't participate in the most recent Jackass. They kept trying to reach out to him. Steve-O kept, hey man, you gotta get sober.
That's a pretty good Steve-O.
he's just the clown now. But
Steve went to clown college, so there's a link there.
yeah, there is. Yeah, a husky voice clown.
Yeah.
He's my favorite footage ever is him on the Adam Carolla show. And I'm glad he's sober now. Yeah, I'm
Sure,
like
yeah.
good, living his life doing it. But
Yeah.
he is drunk out of his mind on
Yeah.
the Adam Carolla show. And he's going, I'm gonna choke you into your unconsciousness. Then he starts slamming his foot against the glass table that's in front of him, and he breaks it. Adam Carolla says, "That was a rental, Steve. That was a rental." And it goes on like that. And now one is a beloved figure, and the other is a strange right-wing commentator. Who I guess is beloved is in his.
Has he always been conservative? Because I used to listen to Loveline quite a bit in like high school.
I don't think he was always conservative. No, I think he was, or at least not identify. I think he was just apolitical.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever's funny, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever makes Dr. Drew laugh.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny how Jimmy Kimmel went on to become lib man. And Carolla's now the man show hosts have parted ways.
Yeah, I wonder if they talk at all, or like if Carolla still shows up. Because I think Carolla used to work on Jimmy Kimmel Live. I don't know if he still shows up at all on that show.
Yeah, but they should learn to work together, like that episode of Louis, where Louis C.K. learns to work with Nick DiPaolo. Comes across a little differently now.
Oh man.
Yeah. I don't know why I keep watching like shit with him on it. Like I was watching like his most recent interview with Joe Rogan. I was like, wow, we're really fully rehabilitated this dude.
Are we talking about was Louis or Adam Carolla?
Louis C.K. I should say.
Oh, Louis was on Joe Rogan recently.
Yeah, he did. He did the whole thing, and he's wearing he's wearing statement glasses now.
Oh yeah.
To show that he has changed. But I haven't seen his special. I haven't paid for his special.
No, sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can go back to him. Have you ever were you a Louis C.K. fan when he was getting big?
I mean, I think he's a very bad man, but say what you will about him, he certainly was very funny and very influential to like a lot of stand-up, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about comedy, which I think people miss a lot of the time, is some reason people get it in their head is if you're funny, you're also a good person.
Sure, yeah. You can. There are a lot of very talented bad people.
Yeah. That's. I love it when a bad person is talented, because then I have to have a whole conflicted morality play inside my head about whether I can enjoy them or not. But that's part of enjoying the art to me. That's
sure.
Part of
Yeah.
Like, he's so talented, but he's evil. Oh
sure.
no.
It's certainly like a window into. I think you have to think of these things as like windows into these people's souls versus like endorsing any of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
like Schrader is like Paul Schrader, I think, is a very good artist. He's very clearly also a very fucked up man.
Yeah. We were talking about James Dean earlier. Have you the whole Canyons saga? Have you?
Oh sure. I'm sort of aware what happened. It was just like a clusterfuck of a movie, right?
Yeah, it was, and he hired Lindsay Lohan, and Lindsay wouldn't come out of her trailer, so Paul Schrader dropped trow in front of her in order. Lindsay, I'm naked. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know this. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. There was articles written on it that Bret Easton Ellis, because it was his thing, was also involved, and so he was.
Sure. Is it based on one of his books, or did he write the movie?
I think both. He wrote the screenplay, and it's one of his books as well.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a whole history of the canyons.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I don't think I'll ever watch more Louis material, but I'm still gonna watch the next Paul Schrader probably. Yeah,
or it's interesting who we make those exceptions for.
Mm-hmm.
A big one for me is like, John Landis. So I don't know.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Killed those people, but Werner Herzog, he also killed some people.
Was it like during Fitzcarraldo?
Yeah, Fitzcarraldo. Yeah. In much the same situation of like a negligence on his part. I don't know.
Oh,
I
sure,
can't
sure.
impute. I'm going off half cocked. I don't know the whole story, but
Werner Herzog's very interesting because I feel like he's like almost rebranded as like this very cuddly, like weird grandpa character.
yeah. When he was associated with the absolute fringes of society in the 70s,
It was like working very consistently with Klaus Kinski, who was a monster.
Yeah.
His best friend.
Yeah, it's part of this kaleidoscopic nightmare of eternal reference that we live under. It's John Waters showing up in the Alvin and the Chipmunks movie. And Alvin goes, I've seen pink flamingos.
Yeah, John Waters, I feel like my first exposure to John Waters was his Simpsons episode. And I think that's probably most people's first impression of him.
They call him Annual Gift Man, and he lives on the Although Yale suburbs, Warren and Doctari. Yeah, I love that. I can quote every line from that fucking episode.
And John Waters I don't think he's a bad guy, probably, but it's like very interesting that he was like a very controversial figure for some time, and now it's just kind of like everybody's like uncle.
Yeah, he's cuddly. He made the money. Now he gets to be cuddly. Or it's like, I guess that just happens if you live long enough and you don't end up destitute if you still are well known or in the public eye. I like how Angela Davis, she got arrested. Now she just gets to chill out. She's got tenure. Let her chill out, okay?
Let her have it. Yeah.
But yeah, who I'm willing to like. I can still watch like Roman Polanski movies too.
Yeah, that is like for some reason I make some exception for like older movies.
Yeah, because it was different back then. Like for every, if we're going on the 70s, all the rock stars are done.
Sure.
They're all the worst people on earth.
Sure, yeah.
Like
I love David Bowie. David Bowie's probably like kind of a monster.
Yeah, just a little bit. He was whatever. We don't have to litigate. It was different back then, okay?
But it's like interesting because I will not give the I still watch old Polanski's. I probably will not watch any Woody Allen movies again until he dies, probably.
Yeah. I think the difference is like, especially with film, it's the work of so many people.
Sure.
As opposed to just, it's easier to block them that out in your head. That one guy,
That's
even
true.
if it is the creative director of the movie, that it's not just his movie, it's also Jack Nicholson's and Faye Dunaway's and I guess I'm.
And it's different too if like they make themselves the forefront of it. Like Woody Allen, it's very hard to separate because he is the lead of so many of his own movies.
Yeah.
Same with like Louis.
Yeah. If it's all about your personality, when the inevitable horrible thing is revealed about you, people have a harder time divorcing it.
Yeah. On the flip, like John Landis, he's not the lead of Coming to America, so I'm gonna watch my Eddie Murphy movie.
Yeah. That's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I can still watch Blues Brothers 2000.
Wait, did he direct the sequel?
I don't think he directed Blues Brothers.
That would have been so cool.
I can still watch The Stupids. Here's a movie I actually like a lot.
I've never seen The Stupids, but I heard it's like a live action Simpsons, basically, right?
Yeah, it's definitely cartoonish.
Okay.
It was something that I've saw as a kid, and I haven't seen since. But
sure,
it made a powerful enough impression on me that I think about it to this day.
You're a Tom Arnold head, as many '90s Americans were.
loved my TA. When he showed up in Austin Powers, I lost my shit. He was coaching him on. He thought Austin Powers was pooping. But Austin Powers was getting choked, you see.
Yeah. Not good bit. Very funny bit.
Yeah, I love that bit. I love that. We gotta revive that bit. I love terrible bits. Do you love terrible bits? Because
I do. I think I'm not above being juvenile or crude. I think that's all very funny.
Oh yeah.
As long as it's well executed. I think there's nothing better than a smart dumb joke.
Oh yeah. The best of that is like Top Secret or like the airplane movie.
I loved all those. Yeah.
Even later Zucker, even Scary Movie 3, like the Cameron Manheim's hat getting progressively bigger is such a great dumb joke. One that I wish I thought of. Or
I like those. Those scary movies are funny. I rewatched them kind of recently. They're certainly stuff that has not aged well, but like there's a lot of funny stuff in there.
Yeah, I remember two as being unusually bad compared to the other
Mm,
ones, but maybe
but
I'm
it does have Chris
misremembering.
Elliott.
Yes, it does have Chris Elliott as a gross guy.
Yeah, which
He's
that's
always
enough for
playing a
me.
gross guy, you know?
Yeah, I think it's very funny that that's both how people see him, and that's what he's leaned into.
Sure. He's well, because now that you've mentioned Chris Elliott,
Mm,
I'm sure I don't know this about you, but I'm almost
mm.
positive that you're a Get a Life slash Cabin Boy head.
I've actually never seen either movie, to be honest.
Really
I'm a
interesting.
big fan of like Eagle Heart, but I've not seen those two products. I know I need to get into Get a Life because I hear it's like it's a very bold show.
It's a I haven't seen it in a while, but yeah,
Mm.
it's very I came to know and love it because I was a big fan of Doctor Octagon.
Okay.
And for some reason, in Doctor Octagon, the producer put a lot of Get a Life references in it. He
Okay.
put a lot of
Interesting.
Cabin Boy references in it as well.
What year was Get a Life?
93, 94, I
Okay.
think.
So
But
like
yeah,
I was born, but I guess it was like I was not watching that then. But I think I could probably find it now. I'll get into it now.
yeah, it's on piracy, I'm sure. Or
Sure.
I guess it's owned by Disney now. Perplexingly
Oh,
enough, because it was a
is it on
Fox
Disney
product.
Plus?
I don't know if they have Get a Life. I don't know if the big Get a Life heads are up there. Yeah, but yeah, I'm a big fan of Chris Elliott because I
Yeah.
like that gross guy character, that
Yeah.
disgusting man character that he
Yeah.
plays.
He's always funny on like Letterman. I've seen him so many times on Letterman.
Yeah, oh yeah, because Letterman produced Cabin Boy too. Letterman
Yeah.
was big into Chris Elliott's corner.
Sure.
Had that sort
But
of.
he didn't he disown Cabin Boy though? Letterman,
it's
which is like so mean to do to one of your own guys.
hey, it was too ahead of its time even for
Yeah.
David. You know,
Sure. Yeah.
another guy who talk about a guy who just shouldered his cancellation incredibly
That's
well,
true.
and came
Yeah.
out of it no worse for the wear.
I guess it's because he just like fully addressed it, and that's I guess all you can really do.
Yeah, you just cop to it.
Yeah.
So many people try and avoid it. You know,
Sure.
all you have to do is yes, I was a sexual harasser.
That
That's my terrible David Letter.
wasn't too bad.
It's okay. I can
Yeah, I did like a little bit of like a lisp on there, but I think it was like worked out okay.
Paul, play us off there. Hey, I can't do it. It's turning into
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage. Uh, fucking yeah, the movies, the pictures. We were talking before this about Ari Aster and
Mm-hmm.
Beau is Afraid,
Yeah.
the new enfant terrible. I'm using that phrase correctly. The new enfant terrible of the movie scene. Uh, you offered some thoughts on it earlier. Can you summarize them?
I think it starts off very strong. I think it's like very funny for the first like hour and a half or so, and then I think it kind of I think it starts to have some problems. I think it just feels like it's a movie that thinks it's smarter and deeper than it is, but it's not the worst movie.
Mm-hmm. People were having. I noticed some takes on it where it was like, there's a depiction of homelessness in this movie, which
Mm-hmm.
is frankly, disturbing, or it's like very classist or very.
It is. I mean, it does make the homeless look very scary. But there is something to just a movie that's that hateful. It's at least like an ethos, and that stuff is like stronger because it at least feels like it's its own personal anxieties.
Yeah, because it's from the perspective of this particularly sheltered
Yeah,
weirdo.
yeah,
Uh, and yeah, I like those statement pieces, those like overlong statement pieces.
hmm
When someone gets a little too big for their britches, I always
hmm
another A24 movie that was like that, like they're some sort of genre movie. Fuck it, they're related by their distribution.
You know what he says? Like, oh, the Paramount movie.
Yeah, the Paramount movie. But did you see Men?
I did see Men.
Yeah, that's another movie whose ideas I think exceeded its
Yeah,
grasp.
it kind of does. It's very surface level movie. I don't hate Garland. I like a lot of Garland's movies.
Oh yeah, I like
Yeah.
Garland a lot.
Yeah, I like Garland a lot too. That one, I think it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's a type of writing that I think is very interesting that I see that I will like clock some directors for using this type of writing. I think like Rian Johnson does it, and Christopher Nolan does it, and Edgar Wright does it, where they think of like a big visual set piece first.
Sure.
And then they write their plot around trying to get to that set piece.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is, I felt like that's like explains a lot of sort of the what I would describe as sort of a meandering quality to The Last Jedi, is because Rian Johnson thought of that big cool spaceship crash first. That's like the first thing he thought of. It's like, okay, how the fuck do we get to this? How do we?
I don't agree with like that specific subplot. I actually do like that movie quite a bit. I think the Luke stuff is like very interesting, but I'm not a huge fan of that particular subplot other than that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, because I didn't. Let's relitigate. Let's go on all the film.
Yeah,
relitigating Last Jedi.
We're going back to 2017.
Yeah.
Right, 2017 was that when it came out?
I think so. I can't.
Okay, we're going back in time.
Going back all the way. We're gonna be Rey as Mary Sue.
No.
Bite was bad.
I kind of love the Canto Bite stuff.
Yeah, I like it's just like a Shaggy Dog story that
I think Lucas would like the Canto Bite stuff especially.
Yeah, it's got Justin Theroux shows up for some reason.
Got a bunch of weird little guys, which is very much in the Lucas like universe.
Yeah, very Lucasian.
Yeah,
he loves little guys. He loves puppets. He likes heavy-handed metaphors for political happenings.
Yeah.
I guess, the original Star Wars was his overt statement about American imperialism.
Sure.
Saying that he even based the fucking Ewoks off of the Viet Cong.
That's so funny. He made like the Vietnamese people into little teddy bear people. It's very funny. I think the Ewoks. If you like stuff, I think they're interesting and they're not the worst. I'm pro Ewok.
Yeah, I like the Ewoks. I like that they go yub nub. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. For some reason, one of the lines of the Ewok language is Toronto gosh. Is one of the something that C-3PO says, and I'm being from Toronto. Like
yeah, sure.
They mentioned it. It's in a movie. It's in Star Wars now. They love it now.
Yeah, well, it's like how in I think the prequels, there's like the Tusken Raiders, like George, like Tuscany's like a real place.
Yeah, fucking the Tucson Raiders. He should have called them the Tucson Raiders.
Yeah.
I really, the thing about The Last Jedi, here's the thing about The Last Jedi that no one has ever said before.
Go on.
No, it's not that I liked it or I didn't like it, it's just that I had no feeling. It was sort of the same way that I felt about The Force Awakens, where it just felt like, even though this was something, markedly different and had sort of a relatively auteurist voice in Johnson behind it, it still felt very much like, okay, we're just going through the motions here. This is all playing out with a predictable, because it does, the movie itself is like a commentary on like the flawed nature of monomythic structure, right? Which is why it has all those asides and why it has Luke burning the old Jedi texts, but then it ends up becoming the monomythic structure at the end, which I think is very fun because you have to keep the franchise moving. And the franchise is, a monomyth.
Yeah.
Where, some people have said that the prequels deconstruct that as well.
I think the prequels are very flawed, but interesting in that way too, where it's very much like, it's the idea that like these icons are broke and these are not other kind of failures, which I think is like very interesting.
Yeah.
People, I feel like there are certain Star Wars fans that have in more recent years become very pro Lucas, which nobody really was in the 2000s.
Yeah.
But they very much position like Lucas versus like The Last Jedi, but I feel like they are riffing on the exact same themes.
Yeah, they are riffing on, but I guess one comes more from the fevered mind of a very specific guy,
Sure.
and one comes more, one seems more directed by this Disney-ish smoothness that,
Mm,
even in the Rian Johnson product, which is the
hmm.
unsmooth Disney product, there is
Sure.
still a smoothness to it as well. There's still
Sure.
like a lack of weight,
Hmm.
something that they criticize the prequels of, how like physically
Hmm.
the movies just don't feel weighty because it was all shot in
Hmm.
front of a green screen. But I
Sure.
I don't know, I felt that even more with the Force Awakens and the other movies
I
in that.
certainly feel that about The Force Awakens. I genuinely do like The Last Jedi quite a bit. I think there are like a lot of very cool set pieces in that movie.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, because Ryan Johnson, I think he thinks of good. He's a good visual
Hmm.
director.
Yes.
I found Glass Onion a little annoying, but I thought it
Hmm.
looked pretty good.
Sure. It does look good.
I liked the big set piece of the onion
Yeah.
exploding,
I
which
think
he
so too.
thought of first.
Yeah. But yeah, I think people
Maybe I'm
always
wrong
say like,
about that.
yeah, people always like, oh, it's got like the Netflix like look on it. I feel like it looks better than that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like The Gray Man or
No,
like
sure. Yeah,
not to harp on the Russos, although everyone hates the Russos now
sure.
because they're like saying AI will replace us and
Oh
shit.
man, it's such a crazy thing to say right before the writers' strike.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's true. The
pretty fucked up,
WGA,
actually.
big strike going on.
Yeah,
What happened to these guys? What made the Russos like this? Is it just giving themselves over fully to Mammon,
I
or
think so. I think like as TV directors, they were pretty good, but like that's very much a hired gun sort of position.
yeah,
So maybe they've never had. I don't know. Maybe they've just never had too strong of a voice of their own.
yeah? Like, what is the Russo style? The Russo
I'm
style
not
was a
sure.
pastiche of other styles.
Yeah.
At
Hmm.
least with Ryan Johnson, I can think of certain attributes or qualities of
Yeah.
his movies that make them distinctive. Like I could, if not knowing a movie was a Ryan Johnson movie, I could
Hmm.
probably pick it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I would say like well, first of all, I think Ryan Johnson is like a much better writer and
oh
filmmaker.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's actually got Brick. I was never too fond of Brick, but that
Okay.
was his
I like
breakout
Brick.
movie.
Sure, sure.
You're a Brick fan. What do you like about Brick? Tell me what you like about Brick.
I mean, it does feel like a first movie, but I think it's fun to do like this noir about a high school. I think it's got a lot of. I think it's a very tightly written script. It's fun. I don't love
Yeah,
it, but I think it's fun.
yeah. It's like a Looper. I like
Yeah,
Looper a lot. Looper
I did
got
too,
into me
actually.
really well,
Yeah.
and even though if you think about his movies are like where they seem tight. They seem like they're
Mm-hmm.
good, tightly wound scripts. But if
Yeah.
you think about them a little more, it's like,
Sure.
oh, but it doesn't have to make sense. It just has to
No,
make sense
that's
within the flow of the movie.
it's like that's the magic of the movies is that like it's pulling this magic trick on you. And I do feel like that's in Johnson. Like he knows he's pulling a magic trick on you.
Yeah. What's like I'm trying to think of a movie where the hard sell is the tight plotting or like the
Mm.
like for Breaking Bad. That's not a
Mm-hmm.
movie, but it's the first thing I can
Sure.
think of where like
Yeah.
meticulous plotting or like Better Call Saul where the
Sure.
like meticulous plotting is part of the sell of it where you
Breaking
get to
Bad is
see
like
things pay off.
Breaking Bad is very interesting though, because I think like from like season three onwards, it's actually like something they didn't plan out too much.
Yeah.
And it's like very fascinating that it is associated with like this like very clockwork storytelling.
Mhm.
It just
Yeah.
maybe just like that they're very good at improvising.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they retcon. I think they realized they made Skylar too unlikable in the first
Sure.
couple of seasons, so they
Yeah.
sort of pedal back that aspect of her character.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I
Uh,
know that like Jesse was supposed to die in the first season, and it's
yeah,
like good they didn't do that.
yeah, because he's very charismatic. We're
Yeah.
on to break. We're on to Skylar discourse. We're going through all the.
Yeah, we're going
We're
back in
on to
time.
Skylar discourse. No, she's. I have no. I'm not interested in Skylar discourse. I think she's a
No.
good character.
Yeah, I think she's fun.
She's fun.
Even when she's like being like unlikable in that first season, is a lot of people think like she's funny.
Yeah, yeah, and also that's like that she's not being unlikable in an unusual way. The
No,
reason why you think
her
she's
husband is
unlikable,
like keeps leaving the house and disappearing for long periods.
yeah, she's a little on edge. deserves to be
Yeah.
a little on edge.
Yeah.
Uh, we were talking about other A24
Mm.
darlings.
Sure.
Talking about other A24 darlings. What do you think of the Robert Eggers trilogy of movies?
I like The Witch and The Lighthouse quite a bit. I thought The Northman was pretty good. I don't love that one as much as the other two, but I thought it was all right.
Yeah, I wonder if it had been in black and white. Maybe maybe
Sure,
I would have
maybe.
enjoyed it more.
I think
Uh,
like The Lighthouse is just like such a funny movie.
oh yeah, it's really a funny movie. That's the voices in my head. It's young gadabout and old
Mhm.
farting man.
Yeah.
That's those are the two wolves inside of me, per the
And I think somebody
cliche.
was like commenting on like something that like I think is like very cool, unique about Eggers is that he is like a very clearly interested in like history, like feel like a historian, but he like very much takes like the concerns of the time like very seriously. I think it was Jamel Boo saying this, but like the witch is real,
Hmm.
and like in the Northman, like it takes the Norse mythology very seriously.
Yeah,
Like there's real magic in the world. Like the movie, there's no like denying that in those films. That I think that's very cool.
yeah. I mean, like the scenes of the Northman where the magic is happening. Those are the
Mm.
scenes that are most interesting to me.
Yeah,
And the
certainly.
movie sort of gets a little slow in between those scenes
Yeah,
sometimes. Whereas
I'd
I
agree.
think, in the previous Egger movies, there's more magic happening in every scene,
Yes. Yeah.
which is why I think it contributes to their sort of heightened, more
Mhm.
sustainedly nightmarish tones.
Yeah, I agree. I like Eggers though, kind of generally. I'm looking forward to whatever he puts out next.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess the other problem with the Northman, and it's not necessarily a problem, but it does feel like because it was in color, it fell prey to the
Mm.
sort of digital grayness that all
Mm.
movies sort of suffer from now.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you know how, and we were making fun of the Russos as being part of it. They
Sure.
literally
Yeah.
directed a movie called The Gray Man, but
Sure.
you say you go back to like the 70s and you're watching a Technicolor movie, or
Oh
you're
yeah.
not watching
Hmm.
it, but colors were a lot more saturated, or there was a
Sure.
style that appreciated a lot more
Certainly.
saturation. Or when I
Yeah.
saw Triple R recently, or
Mm.
RRR, however you say it, it's like,
Mm.
oh wow, these colors they pop, they're so much
Oh yeah, they're
brighter, they're
very
so much
vibrant.
more candy-ish than
Yeah.
what we got now, which is this sort of visual style that emphasizes browns and grays and
Sure.
earth tones. And what do you think that is? Have you noticed that trend?
I do think there was like kind of an effort in the 2000s when like digital became very big. And I'm not going to poo poo like all digital. I think there's a lot of very interesting things you can do with digital filmography, but there was like an attempt to capture a certain realness versus like, I don't know, I do like that movies have an unrealness about them. And I think a
Yeah,
lot of movies are not approached that way.
yeah,
Like there's a very like almost docu style that started. No, it didn't start there. That's wrong to say, but there was certainly like an effort towards like a docu style during the 2000s that I think is like sort of carried on.
yeah. I think people would place maybe not the blame for that, but a person who I don't think gets mentioned a lot, but is very influential, is Paul Greengrass.
Oh, definitely, yeah, yeah, like those Bourne movies, or
Yeah.
like, that was like kind of what he was trying to do before with like Sunday Bloody Sunday, where he's doing like actual like sort of docu style that capture these real events. But it is interesting that he's brought that to genre filmmaking.
Hmm. And it's so interesting how like our idea of verisimilitude, I was trying to use a big word that I wasn't sure of. Anyway, but it's funny because like The Exorcist in the 70s, that
Mm,
was William Friedkin trying to do documentary style
mm,
filmmaking
hmm.
within the context of a horror film, but it
Sure.
still comes across as a lot more stagey and a lot
Oh
more
yeah,
heightened than
yeah.
this modern version of verisimilitude, which is
Hmm.
once again these sort of browns and grays and sort
Sure.
of
Yeah.
lack of wanting to create something sort of iconic or vaguely
Yeah.
surreal, or even just resisting putting spotlighting on
Yeah.
people because it seems like oh, that's unrealistic. It's
Yeah.
not what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's like very interesting to compare like say like a lot of the modern Marvel movies where like they're going for like they want to be taken seriously, so they're like not going so silly with the costumes and like the lighting versus like even like an early 2000s comic movie where like all of them are not very good, but every single one of them was very stylized.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, or even just Raimi, which I will argue
Sure.
all
Oh,
the
I love
Raimi
Raimi.
Spider-Man
Yeah. hmm
Spider-Man are good, including the
Yeah, those movies
maligned
are
third
fantastic.
one.
Yeah, that movie is fun. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not amazing, but it's good.
I really like so many. I love the Sandman creating himself sequence in that
Yeah.
movie. I love
Yeah.
Emo Parker. All of Emo Parker is good. I don't care
Yeah,
what
Eva
anyone
Parker is
says.
very funny. I think people were expecting, which part of it is just the marketing and also just like the idea of Venom. People are expecting something much darker, but it's Sam Raimi. He's going to do his thing.
Yeah. I didn't see his Doctor Strange, but what people were saying was that that early Spider-Man sort of
Mm.
cartoonishness doesn't necessarily translate to a more stylistically restrained MCU.
Yeah, I think like that movie is not the worst, but I do think it does feel. I don't know. It does feel like he's being held back and is occasionally allowed to do like his Raimi sequences, which even then kind of just feel like him playing the hits in a way that's like not fresh.
Well, what can you
Yeah.
do? If they
What can
get
you
if they
do?
have a dump truck of your money, a dump truck of money, they pull up to your house. They say,
Yeah.
"Hey, direct this movie. You won't get to be as stylistically unique as you were when you were 30 or something."
I like really miss like the Raimi of that time period, which I was hoping like after Drag Me to Hell, he would kind of go full force in that, which I guess he has not done.
No, well, I'm sure he's got to have one more in him.
I would hope
There's
so.
got to be one more Raimi in there that's like
Yeah,
exceeds Oz the Great and Powerful,
sure.
or I think there's another one in between the
He did
Oz
the Ash
movie.
versus Evil Dead pilot, which I think is that feels very much in tone. So he like still has it in him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another show which I like, but I don't.
Mhm.
It's not good.
Yeah, I actually never finished it, but I enjoy spending time with Bruce Campbell.
Yeah. It has a lot of fuck crustable style dialogue in it.
Sure, sure.
Which is fine.
Mhm.
I don't think I could write a television show better. And at least it has
Sure.
really, really fucked up gore in it, which is what you want.
Yeah, it's got a lot of like real like syrupy blood and like I just do think like the Bruce Campbell charm it's gonna sell a lot.
Yeah, yeah. People on Twitter have been recently rediscovering The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
I've actually never seen Briscoe County Jr. I've seen Jack of All Trades
Jack
for
of all
whatever reason.
trades.
Yeah, yeah. That show was funny.
Yeah, that show
Uh,
fucking rules.
but Briscoe County Jr. was like more of like it wasn't serious, but it was like more of like it took the pulp seriously, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas Jack of all trades was just wall to
it's a
wall
comedy.
ridiculousness. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's strange that yeah, they were having and they were posting his bits in the Hudsucker proxy and
sure,
people were like,
yeah.
why can't this big chin man, why couldn't he have been a thing? Why couldn't we have put him in more big movies?
Yeah, I think I don't know. He just looks. He is obviously incredible. It's very hard to put like a man that looks exactly like an action figure into everything.
Yeah. Yeah, he's too distinct looking. In order to be a
Mhm.
big star, you have to have like generic face, somewhat of a generic face.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe I'm wrong about that, but
Yeah.
could you pick Rock Hudson out of a lineup? Could you
Probably not.
identify Rock Hudson's face?
I guess like Clooney looks like very interesting, but like Clooney, well, he looks like a very traditional like 40s leading man, but he's still a star.
Yeah. Who is the most like? I guess we have a lot of like distinctively. There's some distinctively weird looking hot people. Like
Yeah, like Adam Driver is like a big deal.
yeah, yeah. He looks like one of those cats.
Yeah. I think, but I do think it's true that there, at least especially nowadays, like there is like a very sameness with the way that people look hot now, and like there are not very there's no modern Peter Falk or something.
Who's the ultimate generic face actor has to be a guy like Sam Worthington, right?
Sure, yeah. Which I'll say I think he's like turned his acting skills around. I think he's very good in Avatar. But you're right that he just kind of looks like a guy.
But I always get him confused with like Joel Kinnaman or like
Sure,
Taylor
sure.
Sheridan, or
Yeah.
like there's like this endless army of like
Yeah.
just brown-haired white dudes
Yeah.
who are
They all
like,
look like different like carpet samples or
yeah,
something.
yeah. Or it was like the problem with like a bunch of the AAA video games for a while is the
Mm.
protagonists were just Nathan Drake clones,
Oh, sure,
these
sure.
brown-haired white guys
Yeah.
that all looked vaguely similar.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think it precludes someone with a facial feature
Hmm.
that distinctive, someone who you
Yeah.
could pick out of a lineup for some reason.
No, certainly.
Yeah, they
I
get
think
relegated to character actor status.
yeah. I think like I don't know. I feel like nowadays we don't we do have stars, I guess, but we certainly the movies do not revolve around the stars in the same way. It's more
Yeah.
about like VIP or like whatever. I don't know.
Why do you think that? Why do you think we have eschewed stars?
I think it's like probably easier for the studio to kind of push their goals around if there are not people that can kind of throw their weight around in that way. Like Tom Cruise is able to make a Tom Cruise movie,
Hmm.
and like it kind of dictates the terms of like what a Tom Cruise movie is. I don't know if we have too much of that anymore.
Yeah, I think some of it must be because everyone has sort of a personal stake in fame now. Like it's a lot
Mm,
easier to become just famous on your own now.
sure. Yeah.
So having a big name is
Hmm.
worth less than ever.
Sure. Yeah. Like I don't know. Like I always think a lot about like I do think Chris Evans can be good. I feel like he is kind of stuck in this very generic mold.
Yeah. I loved him in Not Another Teen Movie.
Yeah, he used to be like very funny, and he would kind of just play into like being a like I think he's like a dirtbag. I think he's like very funny in Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I would like to see more evil. He's funny in Knives Out as an
Yeah,
asshole.
he is very
He's
funny
a
in that.
very good villain character. I would like to see him
Yeah.
in more villainous roles, but
Hmm.
I think there's also a pressure on you when you're a face because, like, once you're a villain, kid, you're always
Mm.
losing. It's like that scene
Sure.
in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I like any like, interesting actor like does not care as much about that.
Yeah, like who's interesting? Who's taking those weird roles? That's like
I mean,
I guess
like I think
Robert
Adam
Pattinson
Robert
takes those weird
Pattinson
roles.
and like I think we were talking about Adam Driver very much is like fine with playing a variety of characters.
Uh I loved Annette. I was a big fan of Annette.
Oh, and that is so good. That's a movie that I was like, I didn't understand the first time. I like just like vibe wise, like I was not on the level with it. But when I saw it again, like, oh, I get what this movie is.
Yeah, it's a weird opera. It's a
Yeah.
melodramatic opera, but
Hmm.
about I'm not huge into Sparks, but they have that sort of acerbic satirical quality to their
Yeah.
music. And I
Hmm.
found it very interesting that what's his name, and it's not Humbert, it's Henry. What's his name?
Humbert Humbert.
Uh,
Henry O. Henry?
Henry, so, something like
Something
that.
like
Yeah,
that, yeah.
Henry. But yeah, that disgusting comedian character is like
Yeah.
I wondered if they took any inspiration that from Louis C.K.
Sure.
or some larger cancellation story in
Yeah.
our society that seems to be the thing that undergirds our
Yeah.
relationship to fame and
Yeah.
entertainment and media
Oh,
now.
certainly. It feels like a weird like mix of Louis and like Bo Burnham for whatever reason.
Yeah, yeah. There is a Bo Burnhamish quality to
Yeah.
there's sort of an inspirational quality to his comedy.
Or like he's like very self-aware of like his fame.
Yeah, yeah. That's. I mean, Bo Burnham's fine. He's not
Yeah, he's
for
fine to
me.
me. No,
Yeah,
it's not for me either, but I don't hate him.
no, I don't have that. I don't have that enduring hatred that some people have of it. I guess
Mm,
because he's Reddit, and some people really hate
sure.
Reddit stuff. Ooh,
I'm
it's
like
Reddit.
so tired of like I feel like everything is Reddit now. You got to start like separating it by like the subreddits at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah. It's not a useful term anymore because we
No.
just use it to anything that's vaguely mainstream or
Yeah.
nerdy. But it is a nice cutting thing that you can say to somebody because there's
Sure.
nothing you can say against it. Yeah, I am Reddit. Sure, everybody.
Yeah.
We're all Reddit all the way down. So you are an animator as we established before.
Sure. Yeah.
A question that I asked to Branson Reese, or
I love
people that
Branson
are into
Reese.
cartoons, yeah, people that know about some cartoons or about the Looney Tunes, is I think
Hmm.
a lot of your character can be judged by whether of the three directors, of the three
Mm,
Looney Tunes directors of Tex Avery,
hmm.
Bob Clampett, and Chuck Jones, which of
Mm.
the three do you choose?
I think like Tex Avery is like the funniest out of the three, so they would probably gravitate to Tex Avery.
Interesting, because
Yeah.
Tex Avery I associate with anger and
Oh,
horniness.
sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Those are definitely his defining qualities.
Yeah. But I would say, yeah, he is the funniness just in terms of that inventiveness, that pure
Hmm.
physical comedy, like
Hmm.
morphing characters into stuff, using visual metaphor and cartoon language. Yeah, there's
Hmm.
no one else did it like him ever.
Hmm.
I'm a Chuck Jones guy because my
Sure. I
thing.
like Chuck
So
Jones.
what I say is that is Avery is like there's that anger, there's that visceral anger there. With
Hmm.
Clampett, there's that zaniness, there's that sort of
Hmm.
wow, wow, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with Jones, there's this sly cuteness to it. There's
Sure.
always this,
Yeah.
yeah. All of the characters are clever and big cheeked and big eyed, and
Yeah.
have which I think you know, uh, all of that is part of why we're all furries now. Everyone is
Sure. Sure. We're all into those big eyelashes.
yeah, sure, yeah. It was Chuck Jones. Chuck Jones knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing.
I do guess like stylistically, like I'm kind of unable to not draw cute. I don't know why I can't draw like realistically. So I don't know. I guess I on that level I do get Chuck Jones in that way.
Mm-hmm. That that instinctual tact towards it. Also, it just like makes your characters more sympathetic to give them the
Sure.
big eyes. That's the
Yeah.
classic Disney thing. Give them the
Yeah,
big
absolutely.
eyes. You know,
Yeah.
your characters look more neotenous. They look
Sure.
more childlike,
Sure.
and thus more innocent.
But also like helps you like get in like a little bit more meanness and crudeness. Like I think your comics are very funny, but like they're very cute and also like very crude.
Yeah, well, because it's like the simpler you go, or
Hmm.
the simpler you make something, the easier it is for it to be universally relatable. I think,
Hmm. Certainly.
um, and the more specific you make something, the more chance you have of alienating people.
Sure. Sure.
Which is, I don't know what how to go in art. Sometimes,
Hmm.
do I make the
Yeah.
specific thing and do the thing that nobody will appreciate except for
Mm.
me,
Sure.
and of course, there's a value in doing that, but there's also like something that I tell myself other times is
Mm.
part of art or part of communication is trying to get an idea across to a lot of people, not just
Mm-hmm.
a specific crowd of people. Is
Sure.
there a way that you could be phrasing something as to make
Yeah.
it more inclusive, but
Sure.
will this phrasing diminish the message or the idea at the core
Hmm.
of your artwork? That's always the push and pull.
Yeah, it's a very like I think a very hard it's a dance you have to pull where it should I think if your work is good enough, I think people will like it. And I think you being uniquely you, if I think you're able if you, I think you will should have to like learn how to make those sort of feelings feel universal. But like it should still be uniquely you.
We were talking earlier about sometimes it's hard to do that because if your feelings are sort of very specific and
Mm,
intense,
sure.
something that turns off a lot of people.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about Kelly Reichardt and how
Mm-mm.
you went to see Beau is Afraid, and that was a packed
Yes.
theater, but you went to see Kelly Reichardt's what's her new movie called?
Showing up.
Showing Up, and even that, it
Yeah.
couldn't there not as packed of an audience.
Yeah. It's
Um,
very, very, very quiet audience.
Yeah, and her movies are obviously brilliant, and
Mhm.
she's the best of her class, the
Mhm.
best of her generation of
Absolutely.
filmmakers.
Yeah.
But they're not top sellers because they're
Mhm.
intentionally alienating to some degree.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but do you always want to be do you want to be doing that? Oh, sometimes I guess it's what
Yeah.
you can't help but do as well.
Yeah.
It's what
I do
becomes.
think there. Mhm. Sorry, what were you
Sorry,
saying?
you go, you go.
I think there is like I don't know. There's like a way to translate like your very specific feelings into something universal. I think especially if you're able to smuggle it through like genre. Like I do think a lot about how like David Chase originally wrote a pilot, which was just about him and his mother, and it was like about like a Hollywood writer that's like struggling, and like his friends are like, "This is boring." There's like a million stories about like a Hollywood writer, so he made himself into like a
Yeah.
mafioso.
Yeah. Yeah, how do I make my mommy issues interesting? Oh, if a
Yeah,
mobster has these mommy issues,
yeah,
it's much more interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think that is a good example of. So maybe Kelly Reichardt, what she should do is she should
I'm
take
not saying Kelly Reichardt should
all
do
of her
that.
fears about alienation and sort of the inability to recoup lost time. All of her themes, and get Tony Soprano in there.
That'd be cool. I want to
Yeah.
see. Well, I thought First Cow was real good. I like her westerns quite a bit. It'd be kind of interesting to see what her take on like a mafia movie would be.
Yeah, I mean, she's done Night Moves, she's done a crime
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, that's true. Actually,
So hop, skip, and a jump.
sure.
She's doing the new Goodfellas.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong though with like having your specific niche and like having your audience because they're going to be very dedicated to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, especially her movies, which are just designed to get under your skin and you
Yeah.
develop a strong emotional attachment just because of
Mm,
how raw and painful they are.
mm,
And how or just how much fear of the unknown is part of them, and how it's much
mm.
scarier fear of the unknown in
Oh
something
yeah.
like Meek's Cut Off than
Mm-hmm.
her movies are much scarier to me than say we were talking about a Hereditary before.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas
Yeah.
Hereditary, I'm watching the stuff and I'm disturbed by it, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
there is no apprehension, or there's no
No.
tingling fear that everything might go apocalyptically
Yeah.
wrong.
Well, like say like we were talking about Wendy and Lucy earlier, like, oh, like is she gonna be able to get her dog back is like
Yeah.
so much more devastating.
Yeah, because it's grounded in reality. You really
Yes.
feel it. You're along with that character because
Yeah.
talk about an approach to verisimilitude which really works.
Mm-hmm.
An approach to trying to capture the essence of reality
Mm-hmm.
that is totally singular and totally successful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kelly Reichardt, great movies.
Yeah,
Watch
great,
Kelly
great
Reichardt.
filmmaker. Yeah.
I think is what we're saying. That's a
Mm-hmm.
big thing we're saying here.
Yeah. Do you feel like do you worry about like your work not being like mainstream enough?
I mean, to some degree, when you're making the penis comics, you're not,
Sure.
you're not gonna
Yeah.
be well, actually, there was sort of the inspiration there was Keith Haring, who was in a very real way making big, successful mainstream penis comics for people.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, he didn't show actual penises, but there was definitely there was a queer romance embedded inherently in his artwork, which he managed to sell to millions of people. And not sell in the gross capitalist sense, but he was able to create something that was universally beloved that still contained a message that was true to him. And he did that through the simplification of characters, through making them sort of universally relatable. But in doing that, he also showed these similar looking characters getting together, so there was always that subtext of queer romance in there.
Sure.
And, I would like to be as successful as Keith Haring, and I will achieve it. I believe
I think
it can be done.
you'll get there, buddy. I don't find your like comics that like I think they're just very funny.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Like I don't feel like they're like super abrasive, and the way that they're drawn is like very cute. I think I don't know.
Yeah, well, I worry about that sometimes too. I worry about if mixing the cuteness with the sex jokes, is that going to get me in trouble or hot water one day? It's just I don't probably.
There's been like a whole like reappraisal of Crumb. I think it's going to come back around again.
Yeah, his stuff is. I wouldn't describe it as cute. Well, some of it is. Some of it.
I think there's I think he does do very cutesy character designs, and then fills it with some of the most ugly things you'll ever see.
Yeah. There's some real fucked up crumbs out there. there's some ones that I know. I was attracted to it early because when you're a kid, you just like any cartoon.
Oh yeah, certainly. Yeah,
that's why I was watching The Critic when I was 5 years old.
Because, sure, me too.
Yeah, I don't get any of these movie jokes, but it's a cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and R. Crumb, I would just, be thumbing through like a Crumb anthology at the local bookstore and then just come upon something I am not supposed to be reading. Like, what's the one where the family fucks each other? Joe
Oh,
Blow.
man.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
Jesus
disgusting.
Christ.
Yeah.
But yeah. His wife died recently. I'm very sad.
Oh, that is sad. I don't think I heard about that, but that is sad.
Aileen Kominsky Crumb. Because, she was basically, Crumb drew a very specific type of woman that he wanted. And then he got that.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of beautiful, actually.
Yeah, willing your wife into existence.
Like, his work is definitely like objectifying, but there is like kind of something beautiful about him. I don't know, like he finds a lot of beauty in like a woman that is not very traditional.
Yeah. Well, I think that's his. You seen the documentary?
Yeah. Oh, that's an incredible documentary.
Oh yeah, one of the best ever. Zwigoff. Goddamn Zwigoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you thought your family was fucked up.
Yeah, that should have been a tagline.
I think that might have been a tagline.
Oh, really?
Actually,
Okay.
Or I think I might be cribbing that from like a Roger Ebert or a Leonard Maltin review.
Oh, sure.
They didn't say fucked up, but you thought.
You thought your family was bad.
Yeah. Look at it. Oh, too. But oftentimes I am hugging my knees and rocking back and forth while listening to old 45s. I relate to that movie.
It's so funny that he's like the normal one out of the group.
Yeah, he was as good as you were gonna do.
Yeah,
coming from that family, weird, aggressively sexual comic.
Yeah.
I'm not as aggressively sexual. I'm more passively sexual.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think I like incorporate too much sex into like anything I make, really.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that recently, or because Quentin Tarantino came out with I don't have sex scenes in movies. I don't see what they add, and everyone's pointing out all of like his disgusting feet shots and everything like that. But yeah, I think it's because I was also watching Lynch. I was watching Lost Highway. I was like, and there's a lot of fuck scenes. David Lynch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of and like success, like good, like hot fuck scenes.
For
too.
sure,
Not like ham-fisted fuck scenes.
Well, Lynch is like such a horny man.
Oh yeah, unbelievably horny guy.
Like it feels like a Boy Scout that just like stopped repressing himself and just kind of let everything out.
Yeah, he got his Eagle Scout badge in horniness.
Yeah.
Got an Eagle Scout badge in sapphic romance. Yeah,
House was like kind of great though because it does just feel like all of his ugly feelings in one movie.
Oh yeah. That's what a great soundtrack. What a fucking great. Now Marilyn Manson, who's now not good. We don't like Marilyn Manson anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
David Bowie. We can still like David Bowie. Okay?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But I feel like a soundtrack that has a bunch of sex creeps on it. It's probably good for Lost Highway.
Sure. This is the movie with Robert Blake in it.
Yeah, it's got Beretta in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's you know what? He's very good at it. He seems like a man that's killed before.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he seems like he's been to my house before. Yeah, that it's funny when like somebody does something horrible, but they've only ever played like psychotic villains in movies. So it's like it's not so bad when you go back to like Kevin Spacey. I go back to watch
or like
Seven
Tom Sizemore is a very good example.
Yeah. Oh, you're terrible in real life, and you're terrible in this movie.
Maybe he's been like method acting for 30 years.
Yeah, it's tough for Hollywood villains to maintain that. Michael Ironside was a beast.
Sure, yeah.
I'm sure he was a real good guy.
He seems like nice, actually.
Yeah. I actually, who's really good at playing assholes? Who's the opposite of an asshole? Is Michael McKean. Yeah. I love it when he plays villains because he has this natural warmth that gets you to sort of almost sympathize with them.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I loved about Chuck in Better Call Saul.
Oh yeah. Because initially you like are sympathetic to him before like you find out he tried to destroy his brother.
Yeah, but also the show never answers for you like is Chuck right or not. It
That's true,
still
actually.
always like keeps you questioning of whether
Yeah.
well is this self-fulfilling prophecy or
Mhm.
is Jimmy a chimp with a machine gun? Can
Yeah.
he not help himself?
I think it's like nice that that show lives in the gray, and I think that is kind of what makes it. I think it's what's gonna keep that show like from aging poorly, and is what's gonna make it last.
Yeah, it has in my opinion, a much better ending than Breaking Bad.
I would agree. I don't think the Breaking Bad ending is like what I wanted. I do think it's like kind of interesting that it just ends with like, oh, like want one and that's it.
Yeah, well, I think it's funny that he gets everything he wants. He
Yeah,
succeeds completely. He
yeah,
dies. The money is going to be distributed. It's
hmm
fine. It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Jesse
That is
escapes.
yeah.
It's all good. Don't worry about it.
There's something like very like funny about that, and like because sometimes like sometimes a bad person just gets away with everything and he wins and that's it.
Yeah.
Because I think
Uh,
everyone was expecting like a very like Shakespearean ending where like everyone goes down and Walt like loses everything, but like
yeah.
nope, not at all.
Yeah, well, I think the show is fundamentally about a guy becoming going from being a loser to a winner, right? So you
Yes,
have to
yeah,
have him win in the end, you know.
sure, yeah.
And the point is, he doesn't learn anything from it.
No, no. He learns that he was always the bad man. He like loves being a bad man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, you know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not
Better Call
necessarily like a
Saul.
satisfying ending, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it would be more interesting, I think, than having him just go through this endless series of comeuppance
Hmm.
sufferings, you know.
Yeah.
And some people have said that you can just end it with Ozymandias, but I don't know. I
Mm.
think you need to see a little of the aftermath.
I think so too.
Yeah. And I really like him and what's that actor's name? Oh God, he's
Oh,
all
Robert Forster.
Robert
Or
Forster. Yeah,
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 but yeah, I like the episode after it like quite a
yeah.
bit.
That's a really good episode of him just,
Yeah.
you get the really good Walt suffering of him,
Hmm.
paying thousands of dollars to play
Yeah.
cards with Robert Forster.
Yeah.
But BCS is
Hmm.
nice because it's sort of a redemption story, but you're not
Hmm.
quite sure if a redemption has actually happened or not.
No. Yeah.
It
Because he
sort of
also
leaves
kind
you
of
in the
wins on
dark.
his term too.
Yeah, but his winning is much less, okay, I haven't alienated Kim from my life completely.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's the only prize he gets ultimately in
Sure.
the end,
Yeah.
which
That
is
is true.
very sweet because at the heart
Yeah.
it's a love story.
It is a love story. It's a
Yeah.
very sweet romantic story in many ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what you would do to impress the only person who really understands you in this world.
Hmm. Yeah.
From doing, because part of Jimmy's escalating behavior too is
Hmm.
partially fueled by Kim, and obviously he sees that sense of power, while it also
Hmm.
disturbs her, also empowers her as well, which is
Hmm.
why she gets wrapped up into it.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, what a good show Better Call Saul
Great
is.
show.
Great
Yeah.
show, great show,
Yeah. I
excellent,
love the
excellent.
Gould and Gilligan gang, and Odenkirk's like the best.
Yeah, yeah. Did you see his action movie?
Oh, Nobody. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It was a fun time. That was like one of the first movies I watched when we got out of lockdown.
Yeah, Nobody.
Yeah.
uh it's very funny that we're getting like action stars, or the whatever semblance of a star we have left are these like 58-year-old guys who are
Yeah.
who are now in like, oh, you got in weirdly good shape for a
Yeah.
58-year-old man, and now
Yeah.
we'll see you fight. Thank you, Liam Neeson. Thank you.
I think like part of it is like with age, you just like look more interesting now. Like everybody used to make fun of Keanu, but now he's got like all of the weight on his face, and now he's like he's lived through many ghosts, and now like he is compelling to watch.
Yeah, yeah, because you have to go from that generic face to getting that real mug on you.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
need that. What's a
yeah.
great movie? A movie that I saw recently featuring lots of great mugs is fucking Exorcist 3.
Oh yeah, I Exorcist 3. I think a lot of people do this, but like it's very underrated.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, great
It's
movie.
come under reappraisal, but it's just got George C. Scott. They don't let people like George C. Scott in
No,
movies anymore. They
no,
don't
they
let
really
people
don't.
with those fucking crazy ass like
Yeah.
latex model faces, like Spirit Halloween faces anymore.
Yeah. Like I think Odin Herc is a handsome man. He is also like a very interesting looking man.
Yeah, yeah. He has distinct features. He sort of got that
Yeah.
sort of aquiline nose and the
Yeah.
narrow eyes and sort
Yeah.
of
Like I think a friend was saying like Odenkirk looks like a Frank Miller drawing, which like is it I always think
yeah,
about.
yeah. He does because he's got the
Yeah.
squinty eyes and everything. Oh my
Yeah.
god, yeah. That's fucking yeah. I love. We should have more people just going all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, I really missed that fucking. We missed the boat with that. We had Dread, and we let that
hmm
drop through our fingers. The
Yeah.
revival of '80s action tropes.
Yeah. I do love Carl Urban. I hope Carl Urban gets some good movies
After the boys, I guess he's
after The
on still
Boys.
on that
I've
boys
actually never
train.
watched The Boys. I do hear it's good though.
It's pretty good. I
Yeah.
gotta say, it's pretty. A lot of the heavy lifting is done by the Homelander fella.
Sure.
Because whatever else that show has, Anthony, what's his name? Fury, Anthony something, I don't know.
Mm.
But that actor is really good at because everyone. Oh, what if Superman were evil?
Yeah.
That's like obviously that's a bad situation, but
Sure.
the way that the actor in the show portrays it is it's like the consummate menace. Just
Mm.
coming in waves off of him is really good. He really
That's
commits to
interesting.
that bit,
Yeah.
and every scene with him is electric, and the
Mm.
rest of the stuff is it's all right.
Sure.
But anytime Homelander's on screen, it's like, anything can happen. Was there a movie? What was the last movie you saw you really hated, or like, do you think about a
Mm.
movie you hate that often?
Uh, it's funny though because we talked about Bo. That is a movie that I initially had came out like kind of mad that I hated the last half of it, but I think it's like I want to give it another chance.
Yeah, it might deserve rewatchings, or it might just be a movie that spins out
Yeah,
in its own self congratulatory
sure. Yeah.
way. People were criticizing Babylon for being that. Did you see
Mm.
Babylon?
Yeah, I didn't really like Babylon either. Babylon I like a lot less than Bo.
Yeah,
Have you seen Babylon?
I have not seen Babylon. I'm like,
Okay.
I don't like Damien Chazelle. I don't
Okay.
know what it
Sure.
is about
Yeah.
his movies. Or I liked Whiplash, but then I came
You like
to a
Whiplash?
horror that he actually thinks that type of competition jazz music is like good music.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
then
he
it's
clearly
like,
loves it.
oh, man, your taste is very suspect, Steve. I don't know. I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he
Yeah.
makes way better movies than I could make. But
I like First Man quite a bit. I have mixed feelings about La La Land.
yeah, I stayed away from his previous movies just because like. Yeah, there's something about even the trailers for La La Land that rubbed me the wrong way.
Sure.
But that's sort of like the thing of like Hollywood. It's Hollywood. It's nice.
Yeah.
That's not the LA I like. The LA I like
No.
is that it's that glitz, but terrible things are happening beneath the surface.
Well, that is a big part of Babylon, but like it also the way that he does it does not. I don't know. He does there's a lot of like there's a lot of like grime and evil and murder and like sex crimes under Hollywood, but it feels I don't know, it doesn't feel lived in the way that say like Scorsese would maybe do it.
Yeah. Is there a smoothness to it?
There's a smoothness to it. I think it just feels like too polished. I think Whiplash is like a very interesting movie to me because I do kind of feel like Chazelle is a man that like is going for like this technical perfection, but like isn't sure whether that means greatness. I think that's like very interesting coming from him.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody who believes that you can numbers your way into creating
Yes.
something good.
Yeah. And like I don't think I really like Whiplash for that reason. I'm like not and I like First Man a lot too, but I'm like not quite sure if anything else he has done like quite hits that. And I think it's like really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone, I should pick these movies up. I should watch La La Land register, but I'm a real jazz snob too.
Sure, yeah. Are you like what jazz do you like?
I'm like Tim Heidecker in that I think you should no, but the jazz I do like, I really like free jazz and stuff. I really like, post 70s, fusion and
sure.
Improv, like fully improvised shit, like Last Exit and stuff like that. And there was sort of like in the 80s, there was a bit of a jazz war going on between guys like Wynton Marsalis, who saw jazz as this thing that basically ended in the 60s, basically ended with cool jazz, and Miles Davis was like the last guy, versus this world of much freakier, more experimental stuff that came out after the 80s, that was sort of kept down by the big jazz, the Lincoln Center people.
That's interesting.
And I see La La Land as more hearkening towards that Wynton Marsalis style of jazz music than the sort of a little than the wilder stuff after.
Sure, yeah.
But I wouldn't want to see Damien Chazelle make a free jazz movie. That would be Damien Chazelle's Sun Ra. He understands Afrofuturism, sure.
Oh, no.
I had a bad joke, which is like, Wes Anderson, he's done India, he's done Japan. I think it's time for him to do the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I think it's
oh, man.
I think we should see it. I think Wes Anderson's Africa.
Oh, no. He just does his Tintin movie.
No. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Well, Michael, we've been talking for a bit.
Yeah.
I think this might be a good time to end movie chat.
Yeah. Sure.
Movie chat. That's what we're calling it now. It's not really movie chat. Do you have any plugs? Do you want to plug anything?
I made a short recently that I'm quite proud of called Mama Frizby's Sick Boys. You would find it on my, I think I have it pinned right now to my Twitter, or you could also find it on Vimeo. Please check that out. I can also plug my Twitter handle, which is at Srirachachau. That's at SRIRACHACHAU, or you can just look for Mr. Chau, CHAU. Yeah, please check me out.
Hell yeah. Well, it was excellent talking to you.
Yeah, it's great talking to you, Alex.
Yeah, we'll keep on the Twitter until it dies.
Yeah.
Till it flames out and crashes.
Oh, man. Well, I feel like it's going to actually probably end up living forever. You keep projecting it's going to go down, but it's going to... I'm not leaving. Nobody's leaving.
No. There's not another really good forum where you can yell at anyone.
Yeah. I've been hearing some stuff about that new, Blue Sky or whatever.
Blue Sky.
But
it's okay. We'll see.
Yeah, are you on it?
I'm on it. We're doing some stuff. It's a lot of tech people that are currently on it, which
interesting.
is to be expected.
Sure.
Early adopters, we call them.
Sure.
Anyway. See you on the internet later.
See you, buddy.
All right. Bye-bye.